Hey again everybody, this is bonus video number 2 in the Lucid Dreaming Firehose. This one is all about false awakenings and avoiding the scourge of premature reanimation. It's a little embarrassing, I know, but don't worry, you'll make it through it. We all do, sometimes. So I have notes. I will be using them briefly, occasionally, to keep myself on track, but I'll be trying to improvise most of it. I will be reading a little thing I wrote because it is a fun little bit on an imaginary dream, if you will. If that's not redundant, I don't know what is. So, bonus video number 2, why do we have these false awakenings? There will be PDFs in the description, as per usual. You can click down there, get them for that, reference them later, although this one is less instructive and more explanatory. So, this will happen to you, I guarantee it. If you get into lucid dreaming, it probably happens even if you don't get into lucid dreaming, but it will happen to you if you get into lucid dreaming. There is a weird thing where our mind will trick us into thinking that we're awake, sometimes again and again and again and again and again in a single night, in a single dream even. It's unbelievable how many times this can happen in a row. My record is 17, which is a lot. That was an existential adventure like no other. It's a little terrifying at first, and then it just got really, really annoying. And then it became funny, and then it became just like, all right, I guess I'll just wake up in my bed again and again. So that happened to me. This will happen to you, and it has important implications about the nature of the unconscious mind. We don't understand it very well, but it understands itself apparently because it operates. But understanding false awakenings might give us a little bit of insight into what the unconscious mind is like, why it's doing what it's doing, and maybe will give us places to go for future theorizing and eventually experimentation to figure out what's happening there. So what is a false awakening exactly? And if you've had these, you know what it is. If you haven't, or if you just don't realize you have, I'm going to read you something I wrote. But the thing I'm reading is right next to the camera, so it looks like I'm talking to you. You're happily dreaming along, maybe driving in strange weather, and you realize that your car is actually this strange hybrid of your current car and your last car, which is a common dream sign. And it's powered by breathing. It's a very common dream sign, apparently. This must be a dream, you conclude, and you're off to the races. Very good. Maybe you decide to levitate your car above all this pesky dream traffic, do some cool barrel rolls with local laughing furry dream birds from another video. Then you think of something. You see a mountain range. You decide to fly to the tallest mountaintop. You think to yourself, I bet there's something interesting at the top of that giant mountain. Proud of all the notes you've been taking from your lucid dreaming YouTube videos. Good idea. You remember that seeking archetypal places is a great way to find fascinating insights. Yes, it is. But just before you get there, your vision starts to fade. You lose the sensation of the car underneath you, and you suddenly emerge into your bed, awake and feeling a little dissatisfied, yet still proud of the few minutes of lucidity you managed to drop into. As you should be. It's a feat, nonetheless. You look around and decide it's a good time to start your day, wake up with a spring in your step. Your roommate from 3 houses ago is in your room on your couch, waiting for you to wake up, and you immediately start telling them about the story of the car and the birds and the mountain, all the while not noticing how strange it is that someone is in your room ready to greet you upon awakening. That's when the next remarkable and shocking things happen. You wake up again. Now you're really confused. Did I dream that I woke up from a dream? Yes. Yes, you did, my perplexed friend. This is what's called a false awakening. And if it hasn't happened already, it almost certainly is going to happen to you soon. So that's the thing I wrote, of a little theatrical, dramatized version of what a false awakening might be like. And that was just one iteration. You could have multiple in a row. So how to prevent it, and this is just a very small bit, the locking in technique that I talked about in the How of Lucid Dreaming. I think it's video 1 of 2, or you can watch the full stream. It's also in there. That is the way to avoid it, and it will work sometimes, but it doesn't work all the time. In fact, it may not even work that much. I haven't figured out what makes this particular phenomenon more prevalent versus less prevalent, but it is certainly a thing that happens to a lot of people almost invariably, especially early on, before you've really learned to stabilize your lucidity and go for long stretches of your REM while still being lucid. So that's the way to avoid it, is the locking in phenomenon. Your 5 senses drop in. So the 3 steps are poker face. No one needs to know you're dreaming lucidly except for you. Keep it under wraps. Five senses meditation, engage the world very closely, pay really close attention to it. And then tactile engagement. That's your locking in technique, and that works to prevent premature reanimation most of the time. And we will all appreciate you getting better at that, including myself. I need to get better at it as well. But even if you do manage to prevent it sometimes, it doesn't always work that well. Let's see here. Why it happens is unknown, as far as I know. As far as I have read, no one has a really satisfying explanation. But there is a theory, and I don't remember where I heard this theory. It's not my theory, but I will take it because it's great. And it's a frustrating theory because it implies that we have potentially millions of years of programming designed to incentivize us to forget that we're dreaming. So why would that be the case? What incentive does the unconscious mind have to convince us that we are awake when in fact we are dreaming? The obvious answer is because when you're dreaming, you will do things that if you were to do them while awake would be not very smart. You could destroy your relationships very easily. Think about it. Things you would do in a dream, you probably wouldn't want to do in real life with people you know. You also might do dumb things like jump off cliffs and try to fly, which in a dream, great idea. I've done that so many times. I can't tell you how many buildings I have fallen off of for fun. Had I been wrong even one time, I would be a puddle and a lot less fun to watch on YouTube, depending on your opinion of me. So I wouldn't recommend mixing these up, obviously, and neither would you, and neither would your unconscious mind, as it turns out. It is so important to not mix these up that it might actually be doing everything it can to prevent you from realizing that you are dreaming. But the thing is you need to dream. You have to go through REM cycles. That's where most of dreaming occurs, is in your REM, rapid eye movement brain state, which is an aspect of sleep. You need to do that to maintain sanity, more or less, for your brain. It uses it for memory consolidation. It uses it for a lot of processing. The theory is not 100% clear, or I would argue even 5% clear on why we dream and what it's for. But many of the theories have to do with it being a sort of necessary, maybe you'd call it even defragging, something important to processing, consolidating, removing unneeded information, things of that nature. So if you don't do your dreaming, then you will not be a very well-functioning brain. But if you're aware that you're dreaming, then you might develop bad habits like jumping off of rooftops willy-nilly. So your mind has found this interesting way to get you to dream without you knowing it's happening. So it'll just create false awakening after false awakening after false awakening to get you to chill out and act normal so that you don't do anything dumb. Now, if that's true, then damn, that's irritating, because that means you have a lot of history of your unconscious mind trying to stop you from doing these things. And the only payment that your brain will have to give for not knowing it's dreaming is boring dreams, like, folding laundry or whatever things you have to do in a rote way. Occasional nightmares. If you're not lucid, you will have those. And something about not realizing the fundamental nature of consciousness and realizing your true identity as pure awareness. Just small prices to pay for keeping you safe, not jumping off of rooftops. Understandable position. I disagree. I believe it is a naturalistic fallacy to assume that just because the unconscious mind wants us to do something doesn't mean that it's a good idea, kind of like how the unconscious mind wants me to drive really fast into road rage people, but I'm not going to do that because it's a bad idea. So competing instincts here, one could say. So that is why, at least a theory, on why we have false awakenings. The solution is practice locking in, and also just get ready for getting confused, because it's going to happen to you, and it's probably going to happen to you multiple times in a row, and it will unsettle you, and then you'll get used to it. And if you ever happen to wake up in your bed, if you can develop the clarity and peace of mind to not be surprised when that happens, then you know that you have achieved a true level of mastery and comfort in the instability and impermanence of nature. Buddha would be proud, and so will I. So carry on. If you have any questions or comments or stories of hilarious false awakenings below, please feel to leave them. Like, share, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. Keep up the good work, and happy dreaming.